I like to say that with or without funding, we can do research. But I've tried to show the difference. With funding, we publish. Without funding, we perish academically. With funding, we publish and flourish. Without funding, we publish and perish. With funding, we do problem-solving research. Without funding, we write no solution papers. With funding, we obtain research results that contribute to development. Research results that we get without funding are usually unrelated to development. With funding, we maintain research focus to provide innovations. Without funding, we may not be able to maintain our research focus, and so we may not be able to find innovations. So let's take those 5 points one by one. Publish or perish. The best Scopus journals have substantial page charges. My experience, I'm sure we all have our own experiences. Last year, Nigerian Journal of Animal Production was charging 5,000 naira per page. And the Tropical Animal Production and Health Open Access, we published at least one article there last year. It cost 4,500 euro, which is about 2 million naira. So without funding, such publication charges become almost impossible. Publish and perish. There are Miracle, Vanity, Not Really Refereed, Doubtful, Kamlara journals. They still charge, but their charges are more affordable. Their impact factor and citation index are very poor. Hence, publishing in them makes you unseeable by your colleagues. That is, you perish academically. Funded research. Funds make possible problem-solving research. And I will give an example again of the Nigerian poultry industry that I'm closest to. The industry has, I'm not responsible for that noise. The Nigerian poultry industry has problems with appropriate breeds, appropriate feeds, appropriate production and environmental control, appropriate processing and value addition to products, and market and consumer awareness. Some of these were highlighted at the Poultry Summit in 2017 that I was privileged to attend, organized by the Poultry Association of Nigeria, the industry organization. African Chicken Genetic Gains, ACGG, is a funded project, research for development project. It was a platform for testing, delivering, and continuously improving tropically adapted chickens for productivity growth in sub-Saharan Africa. ACGG tested 6 breeds of poultry, of chicken, on 2 stations, 2 experimental stations, and on the farms of 2,100 farmers in 5 states in Nigeria. We expended about 100 million naira per year for the 6 breeds. And that means 70 million naira to test 1 breed for 1 year. And you can see the organogram of the ACCG. So a lot of the money went on personnel cost. We had 60 full-time field officers who were paid for the 5 years, full-time officers in the national office, those academics who are state coordinators, and so on. So it was a quite expensive thing, but let's see what did they come out with. Contribution to development. ACGG identified 2 poultry breeds that were developed in Nigeria, Funab Alpha from Funab and Noila from Amo Farms in Awe. These 2 breeds gave 200 to 300% of the body weight and egg production of the local chickens. Noila is commercially available to poultry farmers in all the 36 states and FCT. This was achieved with an additional development grant of 300 million given to AMO farms based on ACGG results and recommendation. Funding to maintain focus. Multiple sources of funding are important to maintain research focus that leads to innovation. Apologies for using my own experience. I switched my research focus in 1987 from broiler chickens, which are single-purpose, intensively produced chicken, to family poultry, which are dual-purpose, semi-intensive or extensive chicken. To maintain that focus for 32 years, I received 19 grants, 9 research grants, 8 development grants, 3 equipment grants from 14, including 3 national funding agencies, for a total of 7.1 million naira, 18,000 Canadian dollars, 33,000 Deutschmark, and 2.7 million US dollars. So without these funds, it will have been difficult, if not impossible, to maintain the focus on family.
Hello, Professor Schneier, you have 2 more minutes, please.
Thank you. This is the last slide. The hierarchy of responsibility in funding. So you can see a pyramid. At the tip of the pyramid are the funding sources, the government, like TETFund, and grant-giving organizations. And then we have the body, which is the university. The OAU should facilitate and reward grants peoples. And the Central Office of Research should train, promote, and facilitate grant preparation. That's what they are doing now. The bursary and the grants and agencies department should operate a researcher-friendly grant administration. But at the base of the pyramid are the individual researchers and research teams. They must generate ideas, write proposals, execute projects, and write reports. Thank you very much.
Obilade, please unmute Mrs. Obilade. She will be speaking to us on timelines and guidelines for TETFund applications. Mrs. Obilade, a minute, we want to unmute you. Obilade, I saw her. A minute. Okay, please unmute yourself now. Yes, okay. Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Kehinde Taiwo. I'll be talking on timelines and general guidance because another member of the TETFund team will be talking on the assessment criteria, which will go into a lot of the issues we're talking about. With regards to the time, the submission deadline from TETFund Abuja is 21st of July 2020. However, working in conjunction with the University's Office of Research, we have set a deadline for submission of the concept notes to 13th of July 2020. The submission is to the central email of the TETFund office, and it is tetfundoffice@oauife.edu.ng. tetfundoffice@oauife.edu.ng. So why are we setting a deadline for 13th in our timeline for the submission of concept note? The first one is to ensure proper internal assessment is carried out. One of the reasons for the success achieved last year was the meticulous mechanism put in place for internal assessment. A lot of persons were brought in to help because it is the university first before the personal. What do we assess? First, we look at the phase validity.
Just a minute, Professor Biladi.
Yes, please.
Do you have slides to share?
No, I don't have slides.
Okay, please go.
We look at the phase validity. We start from the front page. The information provided in the front page must be clear. The picture uploaded must not be black and white. It must be very clear. Every other thing must be incorporated. Last year when the PAR TETFund office, OAU, Mr. Okobe went to Abuja, he shared his experience with us. So many institutions had their applications rejected because of the fact that a lot of the information required on the front page were not there. But because we had done our own homework in OAU, we didn't have any problem regarding that. We also have to look at the timeline set. How workable is it? What are the challenges? What are the issues that could be raised during the national assessment process? We also look at the budget items. What percentage of A should be the total budget? What percentage of the total budget should be item A or item B? What should not be in the budget at all that has been inserted? And so when we look at that phase validity, we now move on to content validity. And with regards to the content validity, I've set up, working with the Central Office of Research again, teams of experts in the various thematic areas. And we have pooled the expertise of people who have been involved in the monitoring and assessment previously of TETFund submissions, so that we are sharing from the experiences and we minimize the possibility and the rate of failure. Those people are going to be looking into each one, and they are going to be able to help us to sort out those who have chosen the wrong thematic areas. You will not believe this, but some people actually chose the wrong thematic areas. And so we'll be looking at that. The corrections will be made within a period of 2 to 3 days and will be forwarded back to the PI, the principal investigator, for proper correction, who is expected to send it back to us so that the team of experts again will look at it to see that all the I's have been dotted, the T's have been crossed, and then it is sent back again. And we envisage that the final submission by individuals should be by 17th, 18th. And why are we saying this? We are also learning from the experience of last year. We need to make allowance to have enough time for submission. We need to avoid last-minute rush and the technological disappointments that come with last-minute rush. It is imperative that we keep to the timeline. Last year, we had people coming in at the end of the deadline, and it put a lot of people under unnecessary pressure. Those who are going to carry out the assessment for us are doing it on their own free will. They are not being paid. They are committed to the university system. And so we must not put them under unnecessary pressure. We must also give them enough time to do a thorough job, so that when our concept notes are out there, they are very, 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 very quality-wise, high and above the rest that will be coming in from some other institutions. I think I will stop here, waiting for the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Biladi. That was good. You used exactly 8 minutes. we're going to have a lot of time for discussion. Our next speaker is Professor Aderomu. He will talk about the critical elements needed to get the NRF successful. Professor Aderomu.
Thank you, my former dean. Once again, I want to thank the management and also the Office of Central Office of Research for giving me this opportunity to give this presentation and on critical elements in the NRF 2020 call for concept notes. Where the outline of the presentation, I'm going to look at brief introduction, the critical elements, and also the conclusion. And I want to say that for the concept notes, it's just a brief outline of your proposed research project. And the purpose for you is to capture the interest of the funding agency and also to demonstrate that your idea you are preparing is worth further consideration. Because I remember 2 years ago, when they've not introduced the concept of concept note, we receive a lot of applications that are not even relevant. So, and that's brought about the idea of, looking at the concept note first before we can ask researchers to come in with their full proposal. So we need to be very, very careful. Number two is that we need to really understand the founder, especially TETFund. We need to understand TETFund, because if you don't, go through their guidelines, definitely your proposal of counseling will be, they will throw it out. That's what happened last year. Majority of our colleagues submitted their concept notes without following the TETFund guideline. So all these ones were just thrown out. So I just want to advise that there is need for us to really understand the funder. And I'm happy that the TETFund office and the Central Office of Research, they've already forwarded the document to the researchers. So I want to advise us to read through the document to ensure that we follow the guidelines. So we need to go through the TETFund document, and then we also need to link up with the Central Office of Research and then the OAU TETFund office for more information. Therefore, the critical elements, number one is the title of the proposed research. The maximum is 20 words. And I want to say that the title is more important than you think. Your title should be interesting, it should be precise and descriptive. It should be very clear, very simple, no jargon, and there should be no overstatement. It's just a brief summary of what is to be researched. And also check and evaluate the title of funded proposals. What I'm saying here is that, well, if you are not really sure of your title very well, it's always good for you to check the former approved proposals, the titles, to see whether you can be guided by that title. So because the title is very, very, very important. Once your title is not catching, the interest of the reviewer may not be there to even go further. So number two, thematic area. Please, you need to pick the right thematic area. In fact, last year, most of the proposals were rejected because some of the researchers submitted the proposal to a wrong thematic area. For example, there was a proposal meant for science, technology, and innovation. It was submitted to cross-cutting. And eventually, it was rejected because, it's part of the instruction that you have to pick the exact thematic areas. So that's another area that you need to look at. Then the background to the research. This is very key, which is going to give details on the project, including the definition of research problems as well as justification for the research. Statement of the problem and research questions. This one is going to be scored too. So you need to state clearly the problems to be addressed and also the objectives of the research. The same thing with your review, very, very key. The theoretical framework you are trying to base your work on is also very important. Methodology, in fact, that is the key aspect of the research proposal, which is going to carry about 30% of the score. Then there is need for you to also, demonstrate the potential for scientific breakthroughs in terms of maybe spin-off, startup companies, commercializations, and maybe possible innovations that your research is going to bring out. Also, the expected results. this is very key. What are your expectations by the time you are able to finish this research? So you need to also state that clearly, very clearly. The impact is also very, 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 very important. Short and long-term impact. And I discovered that in the scoring criteria, there is already a mark allotted to expected impact. But in the template you are giving, the expected impact, is not part of it. So please try and make sure that you write something on expected impact, because that's take about 10 marks of the allotted, 10 marks out of 100. Then the total estimated budget, the maximum is 50 million. The maximum is 50 million. And what we are looking at here is how realistic is that your budget? For example, some of our colleagues want to get 50 million. And out of the 50 million, you are spending about 28 million on travels. So it's not realistic. Automatically, the committee will just look at this and say, this guy is not serious, and that may be the end of it. So you have to ensure that you are realistic with your budget. But there are some common problems that we've discovered with the budget. Some of our colleagues just already prepare the budget and asking for ransom, which indicates what I call carelessness, and then asking for maximum, that is bad attitude, and then arithmetic mistakes, which I'm saying that is carelessness. So I'm suggesting that we should develop our budget carefully, and we have to be honest with the budget. We have to be honest, we have to be precise, and we do not ask for the maximum. We do not ask for the maximum. Then for the references, you need to also cite related works. Those recent related works, to what you are trying to do. Then another area that I think we need to look at, research team. This is very, very, very important. I will give an example. There was a proposal from the Department of Electronic and Electrical Engineering last year. And luckily for us, I was in that team. But the document was not with me, it was with another professor from ABU. And we discovered that, yes, very good proposal, but the PI, was electoral one, and then put other professors as members of the team. So people are now asking, is electoral one trying to mentor the professors? And that disqualified that proposal. So the minimum for PI is a senior lecturer. So please try and make sure that you put your senior colleagues as PI if you know you have an idea, and then you cannot be the PI. So minimum is SL, and you should show evidence of mentoring. That is another area that you need to look at. Then let us ensure that it is multidisciplinary. Very, very key. Multidisciplinary, not your department alone. Look for other departments within the university. And also you can even link up with other colleagues in other universities, link up with private sectors. This one will make your research team very, 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 very robust. That area is very key too. If you have a very good proposals and the research team are not of high quality, definitely you are going to score very low, and then you are not going to be considered. In conclusions, because the time is not on my side again, in conclusions, I just want to give these tips for developing the concept notes. I'm saying do not overwhelm the assessors with details. This is a concept note. Just be brief. Maximum word is 1,500. So you don't need story for now. Go straight to the point, and then be positive and definite. Please be positive and definite. And I want to say that appearance is very, very important. Your concept note represents you. So try and ensure that you give a very good concept note so that it can scale through and get to the next level. And I want to promise the university that as a member of the team with my colleague, Professor Aino and Professor Mrs. Biskazet, we try our best to ensure that we monitor everything for OAU. I want to stop here for now, and if there are questions, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Aderum. That was beautiful. I just want to assure you that some of the hints you gave, we already included in the information we circulated. I'm saying this for the benefit of our participants again. It's on all users, all those details with the marks for scoring. We'll go on now and take Professor
Hello,
Aino. We'll invite Professor Aino to give us more hints for success. Thank you, Professor Aino.
Once again, I say good morning to everyone. Professor Aderomu had almost, it was a good summary of some of the hints, but I still have some to add on to what he has submitted. I'd like to start by a short summary that came out of our meeting on why some of the proposals were not granted for the last round. And I quickly go through that. The major reasons for the failure of most of the rejected research proposals across all higher institutions are as indicated. Research scope too broad and unfocused. Disconnect between title and content. The earlier speaker had mentioned. Little originality in research ideas. Low value addition profile, poorly written executive summary, poorly stated research objectives, unsatisfactory, inadequate methodology tools, inadequate and shallow research content, outrageous budget. That gives a summary of some of the problems, why some of the proposals for the last season were not granted. And then I go on to make my own summary of what I think are hints for a beautiful presentation to NRF. First is that whatever proposal that we are submitting, it must have a national context. If you are doing, the research might be good, the title might be good. If it's too localized, then don't bring it to the national level. Submit it to the university and it will be done under the small grant process. So whatever you are submitting should be something that has a national context, something that could help Nigeria's development growth. It must also, it's not compulsory that everybody must write about SDGs. But I think for this round, and because the problem with Nigeria presently with the SDGs is lack of data, I think it is not spoken, but I think there is the tendency to give preference to proposals around the SDGs, and it crosses across all the sectors. So we cannot say we don't have anything to do with SDGs. So look at what we are doing and look at what SDG is about. We have some of our colleagues, probably because we are in the sciences, and we think that maybe we don't have anything to do with the SDGs. We should try as much as possible, whether we are writing within the sector of science or humanities and social sciences and cross-cutting. We should ask the question, what is the relevance of my title to the SDG? Then the ability to engender collaboration, as the earlier speaker has said, and I will also extend, I will not repeating, but I would like us to also think about when we take a research title, that we do not just take a title because it's a popular trend in literature, but we ask, where is Nigeria, where is state of this research area for Nigeria? And if possible, we should try as much as possible to work with the sector that's talking around that issue within the Nigerian governance. So it is not, every title should not be cross-cutting. But even when your title is not cross-cutting, we are saying, if I'm working with women, if I want to write a proposal on women, I should look at what is the policy around the issue I am trying to throw up. And I will also ask myself, which particular institutions are dealing with that problem? It is important that I interact with them so that at least from the beginning, I bring them, either in form of literature review or personal contact. I'm able to link the state of development of Nigeria with my research and then be able to identify the gap and the possibility of my research being able to help Nigeria in its development process. It's also important that we realize that it's not just the university alone that is working, that is engaging in research. Like the earlier speaker has said, we talk about the industry, the productive sector. For us in the social sciences, also we should also engage with local NGOs, civil society organizations. They are doing a lot of work and they have a lot of data, which they do not use beyond their own engagement at the grassroots. These are areas where we can polish up and make appropriate in terms of galvanizing data for further development for the nation. And again, the issue of multidisciplinary research, as he has said, that you don't work alone and you don't work with just people within your department. Nobody will even look much at your proposal if I'm writing a proposal and everybody is from the Department of Sociology. So within the campus, try and look at other departments that you can collaborate with. And then beyond the campus, see also whether, for example, those in engineering, there were beautiful proposals, written by our colleagues from Polytechnic. And then the issue is, but they lack academic content. The issue is, why is it that they are not engaging with colleagues in the university? There are also proposals from the university that that in the area of innovation, that the university is more of theory. The theoretical details will be so okay, but in terms of the practical detail, you will find in the Polytechnic. So the answer is at the Polytechnic level. So I also quickly want to add to the format of the concept notes. I think Professor Aderomu did excellently presenting that, but I still want to add some few things. First is that it's talked about, the title is very important. It has to be catchy, it has to relate to something that we've done, to develop. It's also said that it must be current. In fact, the current is that you must, because your concept note does not allow you many details. So please use references that are within the last 5 years. By the time somebody is reading your work and everything you are quoting is 2008, and so on, somebody is saying you are not current in whatever you are writing. And then it's also talked about the expected impact, which I think is very important. Not just that it's national, it is broad in impact, and it is long-term, or it's something that will redirect, the research endeavor itself. And then technical competencies, it's talked about that. But I also want to add on that people look at proposals where professors are the lead, even though it is agreed that the senior lecturer can. If you have very beautiful proposal as a senior lecturer, you're supposed to be more engaged, because the younger ones, are more engaged with teaching, particularly at the lower level. Yes. 2 minutes more.
You have 1 minute more.
1 minute more. Okay. It's also important that that our senior officers should not be part of the research team. For example, vice chancellors and DVCs, because there were universities where they were actually the PI. That is not also yeah. So well. Yeah, I think it's also important that you know that an item that you are not indicating on your budget, if it becomes important that you have to engage with it after you have been granted, you cannot yourself buy money into a title that is not within your budget item in your original proposal. So if there are other questions, we'll be taking it as we go along. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Aino. Sorry to cut into your presentation. Dear participants, please note your questions and comments. We still have 2 speakers. Now I have the pleasure to invite Professor Olubade He will be talking about the scoring templates and the weights that are given to the various portions. Professor Olubade.
Yes, thank you very much. I think I will make up for the lost time by making my presentation very short. And this has been enabled by the previous presentations. Professor Aderomu in particular gave us inside knowledge, which is, I think, is a very, very useful contribution. It's a privilege, actually. He gave us privileged information, which I just want to emphasize one thing. I want you to listen to this, which may sound familiar to us. I regret to inform you that your proposal has not been selected for funding this time. This is not an indication of the quality of your application. Indeed, we receive scores of exciting proposals like yours, but we are constrained by budget to select the top 5. I am sure even Professor Shonaya will tell us that he has received negative reports like that. So it's very, very familiar, I guess. And I can almost hear most of us say, not my portion this time. And I will also say amen. But the point I'm making here is that it's not enough to have a good proposal. You have to remember that it is competitive. So in other words, you have to give yourself every opportunity to excel, to be at the top. So it's like JAMB. There's no the national minimum is irrelevant. We've seen scores of 270 not being admitted. So it's not a question of having, that's why we should now pay attention, serious attention to the criteria and the proposed score. Not to repeat what we have been told, I will make some general recommendations. One is that start by preparing a draft full proposal. I know that what we have now is a call for concept notes, but I can tell you, you cannot have a meaningful concept notes if you don't have a draft full proposal. There has been so many references to budget. I cannot see anybody make a realistic budget if you don't have a draft full proposal. These are things that even when you eventually win the grant, you are going to have a problem if you don't have a realistic budget. And then it also has implication with teamwork. When you have teams, when you have collaborators within and outside the institution, they don't know to what extent their contributions will be financed. And they are not being involved in preparing that budget. Even when you win it, you have a small chance of successful implementation. Then, of course, that has been said several times, follow the application guidelines strictly and in clear language. Especially those of us in sciences, we tend to think that some things that are technical, only technical people can understand it. I've learned through the experience, especially I remember the Carnegie project, that even the most serious review comments are from what they call general reviewers, non-technical. So if you have any technical presentation to make and the ordinary educated person cannot understand it, then nobody can understand it. So we should bear that in mind. And now for the sake of scoring, I think I want to use our attributes as academics and see ourselves as an evaluator, notwithstanding what the tips that Professor Aderomu has given us. Consider yourself as an evaluator or assessor, and then develop a marking scheme with the highlights of that, of the guideline. If you do that, it will not be difficult. Work to the, in other words, you can even score yourself. You can evaluate yourself. So finally, we can just go through the formats, the specific information asked for in format again, to use it to develop a scoring table. Okay, talk about title. Everybody has talked about title. The implication for having a concise and title in very, very simple language. And then that is a scorable item, because if your title does not say something, then nobody may be interested in it. You can imagine that the so-called assessors and reviewers, they are inundated with large volume of paper. So if there is something you cannot see there, you may not be interested, you may not be attracted. It creates a bias. Then thematic area, I think that has been said before. There are 28 options spread over 3 different categories. And then the background is also a scoreable item. And of course, statement of research problem. Of course, if there's no statement of research problem, it's not clear what you want to achieve and what you want to contribute. And then objectives. Of course, in this respect, we are talking about strategic objectives. If we adopt the PG college format, I think we should not have a problem, because it's just a stepwise scheme of how you get to your, you develop your methodology. Of course, research questions, and then the literature review. It's also a scoreable item. In literature review, I want to advise us that if we have done any work, if any member of the team has done any work that is related, we should not shy away from, we should actually be encouraged to include it, even if it means using one of the 5 references. It's important because I don't know how you assess competence of the team. There are things that are obvious when you're assessing competence of the team. One, the rank. We have been told, as a matter of fact, the guideline from TETFund office is that as much as possible, it should be professorial cadre. That is specified. Okay? Then the qualification, the highest qualification, and then the specialization. The specialization also means a lot. I'm talking about with respect to assessing the competency of the team. Of course, the specialization also speaks volumes. The specialization we claim must be related to the role we are going to play in that proposal. So that it's not as if we are just listing people, listing our friends, social friends or fellowship friends as it were. So it must be related. Then, of course, theoretical framework. It is often popularly said, if there is no theoretical framework, then there is no direction. So, and I want to challenge us. These are things that I want to confess to you. As scientists, we are less familiar with. We think that everybody should understand. But it is important that you must state the theoretical frame on which your concept, your new idea, or your research study or your intervention is based. Of course, expected results. I would take expected result and innovation together. Those are the things that give indicators as to the kind of contribution you want to make or the expected impact. So it must be what is unique about you want to write a program, okay? Is it because there are no other programs? Is it because there are non-competitive programs? Or is it because your program is cheaper? Is it because it uses modern technique, modern something, it can adapt to this, it's more inclusive and whatever? There has to be something unique about what you are trying to do.
Professor Lugadi,
yes.
you have 2 more minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then the budget. I've said this by inference, that you cannot prepare a meaningful budget if you don't have a draft proposal. I can assure you that. And then references, they are limited to 5. So as much as possible should be current, relevant, and I also want to challenge us that if we have any work that is directly related that will reveal our competence, we should include it, which if only it occupies one of the spaces. I think I will leave the rest. I also have about 5 or 6 slides, which I can make available later. And I think I want to just say at this stage, best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lugadi. Thank you for keeping time. I must say that we have not been able to share our slides here, and I believe that all our presenters will make their slides available so that we can share with the participants later. We hope to correct this anomaly. Before I take the last speaker, I would like to inform the participants to note their questions already. Some have submitted their questions in the chat room and have noted them. So I will raise this. The alternative is that you use the screen to raise your hand once the last speaker speaks. So I will unmute you to allow you ask your questions. And if it's directed at a particular person, you say so. If not, we'll make it general. Thank you. The last for now is Professor Ozeni. This one, I really wish we could look at the screen because he's going to tell us how we can navigate the TETFund portal to enable us submit our application. Professor Ozeni, you are on.
Good morning. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you, Professor Ozeni.
My slides, please.
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you very much. So,
Okay.
again, thank you for this opportunity. We have listened very carefully to other presenters, and after all the synthesis, what gives us a competitive edge? So we have the title above, Navigating the TETFund NRF Portal. And this is the gateway for submission for the concept note as well as for the full proposal. Incidentally, several presenters mentioned competitive edge. If TETFund had to consider thousands of concept notes, then competitive edge becomes a very serious issue. Now, this is the caption for the manual or the guidelines as provided by TETFund in a 16-page document, which all of us should have by now. I tried to look at the content, and I had to derive 7 sections. We have sections 1 through 7. One is the introduction, trying to persuade us, convince us about the importance of the electronic document management system in the 21st century. And I think this is a big plus for TETFund in 2020. I can remember the TETFund office from OAU carrying how many cartons of applications to Abuja. In this case, this is the gateway, meaning we can make submissions through the electronic document management system. We have the second section, which is routine to many of us. All of us may have created some electronic account at one point or the other, so that is routine. I deliberately put a star on section 3, which is the concept note. That is the stage we are in right now. And the sections are how to prepare a competitive concept note, how to view it, and how to submit. That is routine too. The full proposal, we cannot consider this for now. We are not there yet. We hope we get there. Section 5 is tied to the full proposal. We are not there yet. Section 6 is tied. That is the profile of the research team, starting with the profile of the PI, principal investigator, as well as the profile of the research members. I'm going to go through that. Of great interest is the bulletin board, where we can do real-time SMS transmission on any of the areas or aspects of the full proposal. So this slide captures almost the better part of the presentation, or is the abridged form. If we now look at the main point now, again, the advantage of the NRF portal, step-by-step procedure to guide us in our concept note application and in the full proposal. Incidentally, the reviewers or assessors, we have access to this portal too. So it's the domain now for the research teams for submission and the assessors for the full assessment. Now we have all this we know, all the information about the PI concerning the concept note and ultimately the full proposal, all these are integrated so that the submitters and the assessors can work together on the same gateway. Now, we have these 4 key automated operations enabled by the portal. One is, for example, how the concept note is prepared, part of what we are going to do today, and then how the concept note is submitted, and ultimately, hopefully, the guidelines for the full application, as well as the determination of the proposals to be awarded, meaning that this is a platform for those who are applying as well as the TETFund evaluators too. So we start with this. This is the login, and this is in nrf.tedfund.gov.ng. If you come here, there are two key aspects. Using my mouse now, I can quickly look at this section, how to create an account, or immediately download the 112-page PDF that contains all the details concerning the NRF 2020 core. So once we look at this, that is to create a new account. We're all used to this. Many of us have done this, so this is routine. But watch out for the password. We've had to intervene for some of our colleagues. The password gave a challenge, but I'm sure many of us sorted that out. Then we have if that is successfully done, we are migrated to, an email is generated and sent to our email accounts, for which we click to confirm and verify the account. Occasionally for Gmail accounts, it was very sensible or wise for TETFund to include this message, that if you have this message about suspicious link, please note that it is not actually a suspicious link. You can still proceed, particularly for Gmail users. So if everything goes well, your account is verified and you are ready to start, you can log in, sign in now as a candidate to submit a concept note. Occasionally, there are challenges with the forgetting password. We're all used to this, so we have to skip this. Can be sorted out where an automated message is generated when we type in our email, and then we can correct that through our emails. Now, this is the concept note page proposal. This is the portal dashboard. Here we have the concept note with some sublinks. For example, how to prepare the concept note and how to submit it. Ultimately, we get to the full proposal, but we are not there yet. The full budget, we are not there yet. The profile, yes, we can update our profile, our individual profiles of principal investigators, as well as that of the research team. And I mentioned the bulletin board, which will also be mentioned. Professor Aderomu mentioned emphasized the importance of filling these sections very carefully. Look at the thematic, the category. If it is science, engineering, technology, and innovation, it cannot be cross-cutting. So let's look at some of these details to give us competitive edges, okay? Concept note. And page. Our colleagues, or what TETFund advised is note as 1500 ready to go. Then you can do systematic cutting and pasting, and then you do the preview here before you submit. But then there's also the word limit here, as highlighted here. There's the word limit, meaning that as you cut and paste, it will tell you the number of words that are, I'm sure many of us are familiar with this. So we can preview and then we can submit, okay? We can preview and then submit. So that is that about the concept note. We quickly look at the profile now. The profile is straightforward, your rank, your name, your institution, and then there is provision to add in a research team member, since this is National Research Fund. So we're encouraged to make it very truly national. So we have opportunities to upload the pictures following the specification, JPEG, etc. of the research team member, and then we fill all this. Automatically, an email is generated and sent to the team member for notification. And then finally, we have the bulletin board. What does this do? This enables real-time transmission. And how is it operated? You can create multiple topics, bulletin topic, for example, for each section of the application. You can have a bulletin topic on research plan as indicated here. You can have a bulletin topic on research methodology, on outcomes and deliverables, on research problems. And then you can have a timeline. You all agree when you commit to dissect each of these bulletin topic as a component of the proposal. There is an opportunity to upload. You can upload documents through the link as indicated here. There's opportunity to as indicated here. So this, and then you can create multiple bulletin boards to share information. And then what is the competitive edge in this? Meaning that your research team, even within IFE or national, can work from distance and come up with the most competitive and brilliant proposals, or even the concept notes. So all the materials presented here are from this REV from TETFund 2020, the portal, NRF Portal, Principal Investigator User Guide, TETFund, 15 pages. And then this is the cover. And I want to say, merci beaucoup, thank you very much. God bless you all.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Ozeni. I was just going to say time up. You used the time very well. Can we appreciate all our presenters, please? Yes, it's now time to take questions. If you look at the participants list, not everyone's name is identified. We have some using numbers, 4810 and things like that. Please, there's opportunity to rename yourself so that we can identify you by name. Yes, 4891. And then phone, some have Techno and what, Techno P904 and so on. Please rename yourself. I will call only those who I can read their names, who indicate their desire for questions. Yes, please let's see those who have questions now. There are already questions in the chat room. Okay, I'll start with those. I have 3 questions here. TETFund grants. Can somebody collaborate with someone outside Nigeria, or is it limited to only Nigerians? 2, if you submit a budget and later realize that you need an equipment or material that was not included in the budget, can this be incorporated later? Then someone asked if a sample of a successful concept note can be shared with the participants. And lastly, someone asked about page limits. I believe this has already been answered. The page limit, we have 1,500 words, and also slots for you to put in your copy and paste. That will do the limiting for you. So for now, we'll take those 3 questions on collaboration with someone outside Nigeria, either Professor Obila Aino or Professor Aderomu to address that. Professor Aino?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. I remember that we had about 2 proposals in our group with names of collaborators from abroad. The proposal was actually not processed because of the fact that within the TETFund national ground, unless it becomes very, very necessary, you don't have funding for overseas travels. So it is, unless the person is, and you are dealing with a Nigerian space in terms of data collection and so on. Unless, therefore, if you, particularly in the sciences, maybe in that way, my colleague can talk about that. Unless you then just have a partner abroad who can then add, value to your proposal, and you are not making a statement of travel within your proposal. It might be that maybe virtually is going to support analysis, or is going to, or you are going to say something that I don't know. But if it will make the person to come to Nigeria because of this project, then that kind of gesture is not allowed. Professor Aderomu can talk to that.
Thank you, ma. Well, in addition to what you said, ma, yes, it's also accepted that you can collaborate with your colleagues outside Nigeria. However, the TETFund budget will not cover that. So when you look at the budget template, there is funding support from other sources. So if, for example, your partner outside Nigeria is ready to also support in terms of travels and equipment, no problem. But if you want to base the collaborators' expenses on the budget from TETFund, it will not be approved. In fact, that is why the travel has been limited to about, I think it's 5% of the total budget. Because they discovered that majority of the people just travel with TETFund money to the US. Research that's supposed to be done in Nigeria, they will say they want to go and collect data abroad and spend about 6 months out of 1 year. So that is why they now say, okay, you have to limit the percentage to 5%. So it is possible for you to collaborate with your colleague abroad, but not on the expenses of the budget of the TETFund. So that's what I want to add to what Professor Mrs. mentioned. But if you are now thinking you want to use TETFund budget to support your colleague abroad, it will not be approved. Thank you. Professor Mrs. Taiwo.
Is she off?
Yes, Professor Aderomu. Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Please,
already
can you
finished?
Okay, no, you want me to?
I want you to address the issue of unbudgeted items.
What do you mean by unbudgeted item?
If the budget you submit right now.
Okay, okay, yes. Actually, well, that one, if, for example, now the budget has been approved, and you now realize that you need to buy equipment, and even within your budget, you have some money you can spend. You cannot buy the money automatically. The procedure is that you have to write a letter to TETFund to seek approval for you to use that fund to purchase the additional equipment. But you cannot just go ahead and say you want to, now it was not part of what was approved, and then you want to use the fund to buy that. So they don't allow environment. If the environment is going to be allowed, you must write a letter to TETFund for an approval.
Thank you.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, please.
Yes, because I don't want, that is, if the item originally was not in the budget, but within your budget, for example, if you budget for equipment and you find out you are spending less on equipment and you need more money elsewhere within the line items, you can do that locally without taking the permission. But if it is that it is not within the budget items, it is new to the budget item, then you cannot buy it. But if it's like you want to buy an equipment, for example, and it's higher than what you are budgeted for, and you can make a little money from elsewhere to buy that equipment, you can still do that. But when that equipment was not originally listed and you now want to buy, or an item of activity, and you now want to spend money on it, not in your original budget, then you need permission of TETFund.
Thank you. We will take another question. It says, can collaboration be done with professional bodies? Professor Shonaya, are you still with us? Professor Aderomu?
Yes, ma'am.
Please, can you answer that? Can collaboration be done with professional bodies?
Well, that's a very tough question. Well, because a professional body, for a professional body, you need the contact. And then you need the exact location of that person that will be involved.
Okay.
So I think it's possible, but number one, we need the contact, location, and then the contact person. For example, now let's look at Nigerian Society of Engineers. There must be a contact, somebody to contact, and then the location. If you have the contact person and the location, I think it's possible. And then the contribution of that collaborator is very key.
Thank you. Dear presenters, please make your responses very short. There are many questions here. Professor Obilade, do we have a list of funded research topics? Professor Obilade? I know her office staff are also with us. Mr. Okobe? Mr. Okobe? Okay. Okobe? Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Professor Bamire, do you have an answer to that?
Okay. I should think Professor Oseni is there. He has a compilation of most of those items.
Okay, there's another question related to that. That is, can applicants get a feedback on their failed proposals? That is, why exactly it failed. Not just that it failed, but why it failed.
Can I respond to that?
Please, ma, go ahead.
I think the last round, we had over 2,000, almost close to about 2,500 proposals. So you also then, and then I think about 300 plus were funded, not up to 400. So you then have 1,600. And I'm sure with the adverts and the fact that everybody also wants to have a taste of this process, we are expecting about 4,000 proposals. So you can imagine getting back to, over 3,000 applicants. So I think that I don't think, although it was considered a necessity, but within the number of committee members and the load of work, it was not doable. And so, like I have read to you in the beginning, I think after the end of each session, what the committee does is to make a summary of why applications generally were not accepted, and then maybe they can put it on their web. We can say that, but for each person to have a direct response, I'm not sure the committee was considering that.
Thank you, ma'am. I think Professor Olugbade and Professor Aderomu, you may want to address this. If you list 5 references in your write-up, must you list all, if you list 8, but we are told that 5 is the maximum you can list, is that acceptable?
Yeah, okay. Well, I come in first. Maybe I make a statement about the last question. And that's why I read a rejection letter. Maybe you give me permission to read it again. I regret to inform you that your proposal has not been selected for funding this time. This is not an indication of the quality of your application. Indeed, we receive scores of exciting proposals like yours, but we are constrained by budget to select the top 5. So what I'm saying in essence is that it's not necessarily true that the application, there was anything wrong with the proposal, but it's just competitive, and that's what must always bear in mind, that it's competitive advantage, like Professor Oseni also mentioned. So to answer your more recent question about
referees.
5 out of 8 references.
Okay, that is it. You don't rewrite the guideline. I mean, we have to get used to that. You don't rewrite.
So what you are saying is we should just list only 5.
Only 5 and only 5. And I'm even proposing that among the 5, if you have any related work that shows your competency to do the research, spare 1 slot for it.
Thank you, sir. We are almost out of time. We are supposed to leave by 11:30. I have another question. Can a PI submit more than 1 proposal?
No.
So A PI only one proposal.
In fact, once you are, for example, now those that got the grant in the last cycle, you cannot apply again.
For how long, sir?
No, when you complete what you have.
Okay.
You have to complete what you have, and you submit the final report. You are cleared before you can apply for another grant.
If you are a PI in one research, can you be a co-researcher in another one?
Yes, that one is possible, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mrs. Professor Lumakaye, please raise your question.
Good morning. Good morning.
Quickly,
Good
please.
morning.
30 seconds.
Yes, okay. Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. I think the first question has been answered by Professor Aino. The second question is that, is there a maximum number of proposals that can be funded per university? She said on the average, it's about 300 that are usually funded per annum. But is there a maximum number that can be funded per university?
Please, I just want to correct that. I didn't say that there is a peg. You know, I mean, no peg on a number. It depends on the availability of fund. For example, for us to fund 300 plus, I think we had over 600 proposals that were good enough to be funded. But it's a counting, like Professor Olubade said, you know, the best 300 were funded because of the availability of funding.
Thank
so
you.
This year we have more money, then we can fund more.
Thank you. Professor
Per
Olumakaye, are you done?
university now? No, per university. Is there a maximum number that can be funded?
It's by merit.
No, it's by merit.
It's by merit.
Otherwise, OAU captured so many last year, so it's by merit.
It's by merit.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Professor Said Adekunle to ask his question. Professor Adekunle Said. Said Adekunle Muti on mute.
Okay, thank you, ma. I can hear you, ma.
And your question quickly, sir.
Yes, ma. I'm still Dr. Adekunle. Sorry about that, ma. The question here is it possible for one to choose a professional body, like saying a medical doctor who is working at teaching hospital, but not an academic?
I think that has been asked already.
That is possible. The only thing we are looking at is the research must be based in an institution. So once the PI is from OAU, you can get your participant or co-researcher from other agencies.
Thank you. This question comes from Oladipo Temitope. Oladipo Temitope.
Thank you, Prof. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Please, I'd like to ask, must the PI necessarily be a professor? And what, does it give a professor any edge? Thank you.
Yeah, you have answered it. It's the edge. So there's no law about it. A senior lecturer can be a PI, and if it's a good proposal, it's funded. But usually we encourage that. I mean, the TETFund encourages that a professor leads.
Thank you. Are you through with your question, sir?
I'm through. Thank you, Prof.
Okay. Dr. Sonny. I'm seeing your hand. Yes, Dr. Sonny, quickly ask your question. Professor Bamira, I'll get back to you shortly, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Sonny, you are on. Please unmute yourself. It's not coming on. Please, can we have Professor Bamire?
Thank you very much. Let me first appreciate all the discussants for their very rich presentation and the proper guide that's expected for us to be able to get more. But I want to say that it will be very, very important for all researchers to find time to read through the guidelines by themselves in order to be able to keep strictly to the expectation for these concept notes. And also that there should be a logical presentation of thoughts, because one of the most important components of any presentation or any write-up like that is to ensure that paragraph, sentence by sentence, paragraph by paragraph, they flow. Otherwise, it may count, since this is a competitive proposal, there's need of what the TETFund NRF wants. So thank you very much once again. And I want to appreciate everyone.
Thank you. Before we take Professor Otuyemi, I see your hand. There's a question for Professor Ozeni here. It says, how can password problem be resolved on the portal, NRF portal? Professor Ozeni, are you with us? Okay. Professor Otuyemi. Professor Otuyemi, please unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Am I on?
Yes, sir. Your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to ask, is there a limit to the number of researchers that can be on a particular project?
No limit.
No limit. So far they can contribute, they are contributing.
You can even have 100 researchers.
So far they can contribute.
No.
On a 50 million project.
Okay. Thank you. Please hold on, everyone. We are trying to sort out some things here.
Everybody can.
Hold on, please. Can you hear Professor Obilade? Yes. Okay, go on.
I just want to appeal to everyone concerned that they should try as much as possible to pass their concept notes through the TETFund office so that all this cleaning up will be done. And we will be able to answer the questions and contact the persons who are experts in those areas once the question is passed on to us. We would like to also pass on our telephone number so that we will send text messages in case of urgent clarification. Today's telephone number 0803 719 666 and 7667. Okobe is 0803 564 2285. And the Ojejiro 0803 724 6011. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Obilade. Our time is fast spent. I can still see 3 hands. Dr. Sonny, are you here? Dr. BC Johnson? The 3 hands are up. So,
good morning,
okay. Quickly.
Good morning, ma'am, and thanks to all the participants for your presentation. Professor, I know and Professor Adiromu had touched on some of the answer to questions, but they were talking about environment where you have equipment not budgeted. That is when you even have maybe budget. What if your not cater for that equipment?
Dr. Johnson, the question you asked have been asked and has been addressed. I would suggest that we discuss that. We'll take closing remarks from Professor Adeshino now. Professor Adeshino, please.
Thank you. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for the interest that everyone has shown in this process. It shows the commitment we all have to make good submissions
to NRF this year. We've had a lot of information passed through here during the meeting this morning from Professor Funsho Shunaya, talking about the significance of funded research. To all of the other presenters talking about the requirements for an NRF, we will continue to be available to assist
during
those of us who want to
the meeting this morning from Professor and NRF books, and as the director of TETFund has said, all submissions should be made to the TETFund office, and from there we will make arrangements
for as much as possible,
provide support for as much as possible for everyone who is trying to.
I want to thank everybody that has made
this possible, from the
Vice Chancellor,
the Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor,
and to
all of our colleagues in OAC
and the Central Office of Research. Thank you all.
And the Central Office of Research. Thank you all. And also to thank all the presenters for this. To be part of these. We thank you all.
And lastly,
to appreciate Professor Shunaya
for sponsoring
this meeting. Thank you all, and God bless.
In conclusion, I just want to say that the second session comes up at 2 o'clock. I realize that some people joined us late, so if there are things you still would like to know or missed, please join this second session at 2 o'clock. And for those who were here already, you can still join that session if you need further clarifications or more questions. We want to say thank you and have a nice day. Please keep to the timelines. Coming.
Okay, so you're muted. So,
yes, we want to.
We need to say thank you to everybody on chat.